Well, I'm Chef Todd Moore, and I'm here. What? You said I should do a rap video. My mistake. Plastic wrap, wrapping your food video. Cancel the Bootylicious girls. They'll be here in an hour. You know. Not a rap video. Nobody wants to see me do a rap video. But it is important to maintain and wrap your food. And luckily, we have things like plastic wrap and tin foil. Now, tin foil is an amazing thing, and of course, it's not made out of tin anymore. Originally, it was made out of tin, and the first phonograph records were tin. The first photographs, tin types, were tin, but tin gave a, guess what, tinny taste to food. So in 1910 in Switzerland, there was a company that actually used the powers of the Rhine Falls to power this aluminum rolling factory. And aluminum foil was born, first used in the United States in 1913 by the Lifesavers company for gum and candy and things like that. There's a shiny side and there's a dull side. It doesn't matter. I hear this myth so often that the shiny side reflects heat and the dull side absorbs. You know, unless you have a scientific instrument to measure this with, it's not going to make any difference to your food, whether you use the shiny side or the dull side, the matte side. There's no difference whatsoever. Tin foil is great because it's impermeable to water and air. That's if you wrap things correctly. Now, we've got some tin foil over here, we've got some plastic wrap, and I've got some leftover items. Half a tomato that I've cut previously. This is an onion. We use the other half. What do? Throw it away? Well, in your refrigerator, you want to make the most use out of the food as possible. Let me show you how to use some plastic wrap to tighten these things up. The object with the plastic wrap, or my friends in the UK call it cling film. I'm learning a lot about UK stuff, but the object is to keep air out. So if we have our half a tomato here that we cut, and we take some plastic wrap, and we just lay this over the top like that, and put this in the refrigerator, how many people do it like that? Well, of course, air is getting up in here. The object is to keep the air from it, to make this tight. So the way that I wrap half items that I've used before, get rid of that. Let's put the sliced side down and get a good amount more wrap than the item is, obviously. I'm going to pull this around it, gathering it on each side, and then start to twist. Like that. Bring this tail around that way and set it down in my refrigerator or wherever I'd like. And now, you see I've put a new skin on here. This is completely tight. Same thing with my onion here. You know, you try, especially if you're cooking for two people, you try and buy real small onions, you know, so you don't have to waste things. But if you buy larger onions and you cut them in half this way, same type of thing. Flat down on my saran wrap, and I'll gather this all up in this fashion. And now pull it tight and twist it. And what I've done is create like a second skin on there. Sometimes I'll put a twisty tie or just set this down on it so that the weight of it keeps it. I call it saran wrap. Well, saran is the commercial term for, let me see if I can get this right, polyvinyl iodine chloride. Polyvinyl iodine chloride is saran. That's the commercial name for it. Of course, my friends down under in Australia know that Glad wrap in 1966, it was an Australia thing. They gave it a stickifier gum, a gum paste that would stick to it as well. So our plastic wrap is used to keep air out, and of course it'll keep moisture out as well, but it won't keep light out, and light can degrade things as well. What we need for that is some aluminum foil, and aluminum foil solves our freezer burn problem, and freezer burn is caused by dehydration and oxidation of food. So you ever see you put your steak in the freezer for too long? It is the physical process of sublimation. Water evaporates at all temperatures. Even ice cubes evaporate. Ice cubes get smaller over time in your freezer, although it supposedly keeps a consistent temperature. Well, in meats, moisture is drawn to the surface, naturally drawn to the surface. So as it's drawn to the surface under warmer temperatures, ice crystals form on the outside of the meat. The ice crystals evaporate. What that does is wick to draw moisture from that part of the meat. It dehydrates, it gets air, it oxidizes, it looks brown, it looks burnt, it looks dry, it looks shriveled, it doesn't look any good. It's not unsafe. You can still eat it, you can still cook it, but it just really doesn't look really good. Now, why why does this happen in your freezer? Because of our automatic defrosting freezers. The automatic defrost freezer fluctuates in temperature back and forth. This helps the moisture come out from your steak, out from your vegetables, forms ice crystals that evaporate and draw more moisture. Your manual defrosting freezer is best, but I don't know anyone who has one of those anymore. They're really old. The key is keeping it at a consistent 0 degree Fahrenheit temperature. But with our automatic freezers, with that fluctuation, that's why we get freezer burn that way. One of the ways to help it is with some aluminum foil, but we want to keep the air out as well. I'll show you how to do that. I previously cooked chicken breast here that we would like to survive for quite a while. So a lot of times in my house, what I'll do is both. I'll use my saran wrap, and wrapping something flat like this, I'm going to fold it over one side and then make an envelope out of it. Fold the sides over to lock that in, and then turn the item over to close it this way. This will keep a lot of the moisture in, but we know what happens to saran wrap or Glad wrap in the freezer. It all opens up and all the air gets in here, so this needs to be airtight. This is the way I wrap things with aluminum foil. This may not be the most highest viewed episode, I'm sure, watching Chef Todd wrap things in aluminum foil. But what I do is put the item in the middle, gather these two ends together, and start to roll this down. I roll it down till I get to the item and press it down. See, now this is sealed 2 or 3 times over. Press that down this way. Now, like you're wrapping a package, I'll bring the top corners in that way, I'll bring the bottom corners in that way, and then bring these two together. Now what I've got is a very tightly wrapped chicken breast that moisture, air, and yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. Moisture, air, and light. Yeah, I think it's me that's not real tightly wrapped. But the object is to keep these 3 elements from ruining your food in your freezer. Even items in your refrigerator, like if you have a can of something that you open, putting it in Tupperware and keeping it from air is certainly what you would want to do. But if all you have is some saran wrap, I'll show you another quick trick. We're going to put a piece over the top and then pull this into a rope. Pull that tight into a rope and then tie this around the lip of the container so that seals tightly to it. Now I've made an airtight seal on my can or container. So when you're using tin foil, when you're using saran wrap, when you're using Glad wrap, any of it, you want to make sure that you keep moisture out. If you have a summer sausage, you can't just take the foil, and I see this in people's refrigerators, and go like this. That's going to let plenty of air in there, and this will degrade quickly. You want to make sure that your sausage is you want to make sure that your sausage is fully wrapped. Now this is a public service announcement. Make sure that we're going to use some plastic wrap, and all right, the object is to keep items from degrading in your refrigerator, and you do this by controlling the moisture, controlling the air, and keeping the ice crystals from forming on it. Knowing how to wrap things to keep air out of it can help save you money in your household, can help items last longer in your refrigerator, can help fine cooking if you want, but I prefer cooking coarse.